Joining me now is Melanie Sloan, Executive Director of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Melanie, thanks for joining us tonight. Could you please give us some perspective on this horrific scandal? As far as I can tell, no laws broken, no money taken, and not even any sex in the so-called sex scandal.
Right. They're trying to say that this is going to hinge on the misuse of official resources. But frankly, people use official resources all the time to make phone calls, to make their weekend plans. They send a fax, they send an email, and all of that is permissible. So it's really hard to see exactly what the Ethics Committee would hang its hat on here to say this conduct, this is what violates the ethics rules. Others have said maybe it's the lying. What? So no politician has ever lied to us before? I mean, that's the kind of thing we see all the time. So he did behave discreditably, but I don't think it's enough for a full-fledged ethics censure. And Melanie, I need you to bring some reality to possible procedures here. There's been a lot of talk flying around about, well, the Democrats, what are they going to do? Is there something they can do about it as a caucus, just that half of the House of Representatives? Isn't it that there's absolutely nothing anyone can do except send it to the Ethics Committee, where these investigations take a very, very long time? That's right. It's before the Ethics Committee, and if you'll remember, it's over a year and a half ago now that the Eric Massa scandal, the former New York congressman who was sexually harassing some of his staff, that went to the Ethics Committee. We haven't heard back. The Maxine Waters matter is still before the Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee is where ethics investigations often go to die. So I don't think we should be looking for any kind of immediate reaction from the Ethics Committee. I also think there's a matter of comparing this to other scandals. For example, David Vitter's still sitting there in Congress, and he's a senator, and he was engaged in prostitution, which is actually a crime. Many of the people who are so quick to judge Anthony Weiner, in fact, gave money to David Vitter, not just continued to support him. So I really feel like it's a little bit of a disproportionate reaction to the Anthony Weiner scandal versus some of the other scandals. Melanie, it's my sense that the Democrats who are calling for his resignation are doing it for purely political reasons, meaning they don't think this rises to the level of requiring a resignation or violates any actual rules that they can point to, but that they just think it's good for the party to get rid of a guy like this as the party's going into a congressional election that's going to be close, where they might have trouble getting to that final seat where they take back control of the House. And some of the scandals that I look back on, which were much worse, where no one ever called for the Democrat to leave the House of Representatives, existed in a world where the Democrats had massive margins in the House of Representatives. They had more than 100 more seats than the Republicans had back in the Tip O'Neill day and in those days of the older scandals. Well, you know, I also think Speaker Boehner has upped the ante. He forced out members of Congress who were involved in sexual misconduct very quickly. Mark Souder from Indiana was found to be having an affair. He was out in a day. Chris Lee from New York sent the pictures on Craigslist. He was out before the end of the day. So I think with that zero tolerance policy, it has made the Democrats feel more like they have to take a very hard stand themselves. But in the end, you can't push a member of Congress out. They have to be willing to go. And Anthony Weiner saying he's going to stick it out. And Republicans are always much more likely to just fall into line and do what their leader says than the Democrats generally are. So I think it's Nancy Pelosi's in a tough position here. Melanie Sloan with Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks.